we can proceed with our meeting. We can start our Zoom meeting.
Okay, hi everyone. Thanks for tuning in. This is SAS-K, Skeptics and Atheists Society of Kenya. Now today we're discussing emotions, dealing with emotions like guilt, anger, regret, jealousy, and dealing with difficult family members. Just kindly watch till the end and feel free to like and subscribe. Yeah. So guys, let's start with the emotions. Like when you hear the word guilt, what do you hear? When you hear the word guilt, what goes through your mind? Thanks. Okay, anyone? What does guilt mean to you? Bolelang, go.
Hey, I'm trying to find reactions, raising hands, and I'm fumbling here. Sometimes a person does something, and after doing it, they notice that they were not supposed to do that. And it has implications maybe on other people or on himself also. Then they live with those and it troubles them, their conscience. And you find that they live in guilt like that for a long time for other people. Others, after apologizing and dealing with it, they can deal with guilt quicker. But most people stay with guilt for very long.
Thanks, Bolelang. Dexter.
Okay, thank you, Morioki. I think the easiest definition of guilt is just being disappointed in yourself. You feel like you should have done better, but you didn't. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dexter. Dorcas.
Yes, I concur with the other speakers. Hi, Dexter Morgan. Kumbe, that is your pussy. I mean, your pussy. I can recognize that voice from the moon. Nice to have you with us today. So, guilt, I would say, is an emotion, a negative emotion that comes from realizing the role you played in a certain unwanted outcome. For example, I told you guys that I now work at a daycare center. I spend time with children most of my day, and I love it. It's such a delight. Of course, it has its slow moments because we can have those toddlers that are screaming and clingy. Oh, but aside from those few downsides, I love it. Generally, I find it to be so invigorating to do it. Now, we have this growing number of special needs children. Some of them have Down syndrome, others have autism, they're on the spectrum, others have cerebral palsy, and many other developmental disorders. Whenever we speak, we usually do reviews with the parents after a certain duration of time to see some developments that have occurred, any achievements, or how they can support us at home while we are in school. In fact, it's not just a daycare, it's a play school. It's a school for preschool kids that have not yet qualified to start kindergarten officially, but it's a school nonetheless, and we have a curriculum. So when we meet the parents, many of them feel that emotion of guilt. They feel guilty for bringing children into this world or a child into this world that is suffering. They ask themselves, what could I have done differently? Was it that I had this child too late? And so they had some genetic problems that developed. Was it the diet that I was on? Was it even my genes? Maybe if I did some genetic testing, I could have caught it and maybe I wouldn't have given birth to this child. Like they're so guilty. They're so guilty about it. Even when sometimes these things are beyond your control. So that's another dimension of guilt. Um, Guilt sometimes might occur when you are causing that unwanted, undesirable outcome. And in other situations, it might not be your fault. You might have internalized it as your fault, but it really isn't. It's an error in thinking. So we need to acknowledge those two dimensions of guilt. But that's the example I would give. And there are many other situations. For example, you are a driver, you hit somebody, they get injured, or they pass on, right? The person would feel guilty, would feel intense guilt for causing that undesirable outcome. Or let's say you did not appreciate, you did not give your all in a certain relationship, maybe with your mother or with your best friend. They wanted to meet with you for coffee, you didn't have time. They wanted you to go to their farewell party at work. You didn't show up, and then all of a sudden they're dead. So you're like, oh my goodness, I wish I did more while they were around. So you feel guilty because they are gone before you could savor the relationship. Yeah, there are many other examples out there that we will probably discuss as we go along. But that's my opening remark. Thank you.
Please, Dorcas, you mentioned the word negative. Is there any such thing as a positive guilt? Use negative somewhere. Is there any such thing as a positive guilt? I'm just negative.
No, it is not. There's no such thing as positive guilt. By its definition, guilt has to be negative. It's an unwanted outcome. An unwanted thing has occurred, and you are blaming yourself for it. So it's negative by its definition. There's no such thing as positive, according to my understanding.
I think, Dorcas, I can add on that. What if you have done something intentionally and later you feel guilty? Is that not positive?
Yes, Stanu hapo. Yes.
What something, Stano?
You did something intentionally. For example, maybe you have stolen something, maybe from a company. Then later, when they realize maybe the CCTV footage, you started feeling guilty. Is that not positive? Because it's something that is intentionally.
No, there's nothing positive about it. You feel bad about it. You feel guilty. There's nothing positive. There's no positive spin here, guys.
Okay.
Let's not
In fact, I think what Morioki wants to understand is between the intentionally and the unintentionally.
Is that the case, Morioki?
Yes.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it was
before. Yeah,
Morioki, your
Morioki?
network is breaking, or is mine?
Yeah, it's his network. Morioki, you are breaking off. Please repeat.
Okay, can you hear me now? Now can you hear me?
Somehow.
Yeah. Okay, you can hear me now. Am I clear now?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was saying, yeah,
Yes,
if you do
yes.
something wrong and yeah, it could be positive that you're feeling that you're aware you did a wrong action. So that guilt it's positive because you know you did something wrong. That's what I mean. You know you're aware of a mistake you made. That's how I'm getting at. It makes you feel that I did something wrong, so I feel guilty.
No, it doesn't matter whether you are. Oh, no, you guys are you're just mixing things up and mixing me up in the process. Guilt comes with awareness. It comes with awareness. Whether it was intended or unintended, that doesn't matter. You are aware that you did something intentionally. Sometimes, as I said, you erroneously blame yourself. Now, like those mothers who give birth to a child with cerebral palsy or Down syndrome that I was speaking to earlier in the week, and they were really feeling guilty about it, yet some of these things are beyond their control. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you are aware, whether you have wrongfully blamed yourself or not. At the end of the day, it's a negative emotion. Okay.
Fine. Okay, thank you. Okay, before Ndeve, Bolelang, is there any such thing as a guilt? In 2 minutes, Bolelang, is there any such thing as a positive guilt?
No, it consumes you, it kills you, and you'll end up in hospital or in a psychological facility. But remorse, yes, remorse is good. And somebody who's guilty sometimes shows remorse and they want to change what they've done. But feeling guilty, we all feel it, even before people catch you. If you steal something, just taking it and there's something wrong. You can even feel the way that you walk and what, that, nah, this is not right. But that nagging feeling, if it keeps on eating you, you've got to do something about it. It's negative. You must get rid of it.
Okay, thanks. Deve, go.
Thanks, Muriuki. I know there is that one of the remorse and guilt. I'll try not to go in there because I think that's a bit, there is a nuances of the two emotions or the two situations. But the way I'm looking at guilt, I'm looking at it as, in the first place, when somebody draws attention to something, draws you to the attention to something. For example, in some extreme families, parents will tell their kids what they did for them, or they paid their education or whatever they did for them. I think that is the worst kind of manipulation, because why are you here? They brought you here. So why are they telling you that they had to clothe you? Of course they had to clothe you. They had to educate you. So that, to me, I consider the worst case of manipulation and abuse of parents, or of a situation that these were my expectations of you and you did not do it. So that is kind of a control behavior. The other one of in the family, and I'm going to stay with the family, is the one, let us say, of siblings, that you are the older sibling, or you are the sibling that the son, whatever, and ABCD is expected of you, but you also have your family. You have got your wife and your children. You also have to manage those, and so. But you are expected to now be the head of the family because the parents are no longer there. I don't know if that one is manipulation, or it is just that, well, you are the oldest sibling, so take on the responsibility and carry it up. So, so I think of those, and if somebody is not able to meet those expectations, then they are made, whether they like it or not, they are going to be made to feel guilty that they are not meeting certain expectations. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, David. For me, what I have here is a guilt is a cognitive and emotional experience involving feelings of capability, remorse, or responsibility for a real or imagined wrong. It is a social emotion by action against one's process of result in a desire to apologize or make amends. Guilt can also refer to the elite is a cognitive and emotional experience involving feelings of capability, remorse, or responsibility for a real or imagined wrong. It is a social emotion prompted by acting against one's moral standards, often resulting in a desire to apologize or make amends. Guilt can also refer to the illegal act of having committed a, do we deal with guilt? Like if you feel guilty, how do we deal with it? That's the question I'm asking. What do we do? Something like something happened, you feel guilty. What's your way of dealing with it? Thanks.
Yeah, Muriuki, you are breaking up often.
Okay, did you hear my definition? Oh, my network has a problem today. Eh? Okay, I asked how do you deal with guilt? Like if you feel guilty, how do you deal with it? Okay, my network has, I don't know. Just wait. Just wait. Can you hear me now?
Yes, you're clear.
Okay, did you hear my definition? I read it twice. I don't know if you guys heard. Was I clear in the definition? Did you hear my definition of guilt?
Yes.
Oops. You are okay. So I'm asking, how do you deal with guilt? The question is, how do you deal with guilt? Like, if you feel, how do we deal with guilt? Thanks. Okay, Dexter, go.
Okay, I think I did not hear your definition myself, but I think I'm gonna reinstate my definition of guilt. I did say that guilt is a feeling of being disappointed in yourself, and I didn't explain. I think most of you missed, although Dorcas kind of understood my point. I think the way you deal with guilt is just by forgiving yourself. You feel guilty because you feel you would have been better, you could have done better, you know, you made a mistake. I think I deal with it by forgiving myself. You can just, what do I say, accept that it is you that did that thing and start that process of forgiving yourself. Stop feeling disappointed in yourself. Maybe distract yourself by doing something that is, what can I say, that is the direct opposite of what makes you feel guilty. Like if you murdered someone and you feel guilty about it, you can confess, you know, get and work, or if you don't, you know, work to improve the lives of people, to pay for the life that you lost. And you will get some clearance with time. You will feel better. Thank you.
So Dexter, what I got from you is take actions that are opposite what you did. Is that right? That's what I had. Do the opposite of what you did. Is that right?
It's not right. Do not simplify a very complex statement that I made. I gave it as an example. For example, forgive yourself. That is my point. And then I gave an example. If you can't find it in you to forgive yourself, just go and do actions that are opposite what you did. And you're probably going to start forgiving yourself. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Chilwell, go.
Um, I think if you're guilty, like let's say you committed an action that was wrong, I think you should try and make amends and correct what you did. And if it's something that you can't correct, then you have to realize that no amount of guilt will change the past. But you can also try and be better in future. Like, don't repeat the same mistake. So I think that's the best we can do.
Okay, thanks, Chilwell. Dorcas?
I swear, Morioki, your network is still fluctuating. Please consider
okay.
moving around your
Okay, fine.
compound.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So,
But I still got the gist of what you are talking about. Some people missed that definition, but I think I grasped it. Dexter, where are you? Where are all these crickets? It looks like everybody is visiting the village because even Morioki, who is a farmer, often visits the village, even though he's based in Nairobi. Anyway, I'm doing it tongue in cheek, Dexter. It's because we've missed you. You need to attend more of the Zoom meetings. Now, how do we cope with guilt? As I said previously, there are two varieties of guilt. There's guilt over something you are actually responsible for, and then there's imagined guilt, according to that definition that you read out, Morioki. There's imagined guilt. And for the real guilt, the one that is based on an actual scenario, on real behavior which you engaged in to cause that unwanted outcome, I think there one can make amends. For example, if you hit somebody because of bad driving, sometimes it might not even be bad driving. It's just a bad coincidence. Yeah, that they ran into the road, and as you were just making that turn, pop, you hit them. Guilt can result from that because of direct action. So yes, you can make amends. You can immediately you can try and rush the person to hospital, and you can take care of their medical bill. You can visit them if they will have you, because there are some people who cannot stand their attackers or the perpetrators of the harm that has been done to them. But if they will have you, then you can see them, and you can give a sincere apology. By the way, there are steps that you can ensure to make your apology more authentic or more effective, if I can put it that way. The apology must be done within reasonable time. Don't wait until things have spiraled out of control before you make the apology. You need to take accountability, take responsibility for the wrong that has been done. Use I pronouns, not passive statements, right? Use active words and take responsibility for the wrong that you committed. Also, other elements of giving a good apology include making positive steps towards improving the situation if it can be improved upon. And you need to demonstrate remorse, real remorse. It needs to be sincere. So, yeah, I think giving an apology to the injured party is critical. Making amends for this thing that you have done is essential in coping with guilt. Then, if it is imagined, now is this the conundrum in which one can find themselves? You might be feeling guilty, and in your heart or in your head, because the heart only pumps blood, the rest of the things we plaster on it is kiherehere. For those who don't understand Kiswahili, it is being a know-it-all. Eh? So, in your mind, in your head, you are thinking that you are guilty for this, yet it isn't really your fault. How do you know? That's the big question. How can you tell that this is an imagined situation that is causing this guilt? I think there a third party must be involved. You can confer with someone trustworthy, someone who you believe is level-headed, and of course, if you can afford it, therapy. But you know, in Africa, for many people, therapy is a luxury. We are barely scraping by. You don't even know where rent is going to come from. Where are you going to find 3,000 shillings to speak to somebody about your mental health? It's really tricky. So maybe the next best person would be a level-headed person, a person who has mental health skills, that they've been reading up on the thing, and you talk to them about it. So they can give you their opinion on whether this is imagined or whether it's a real situation. So once that has been established that it is imagined, then you need to forgive yourself for this imagined thing. Like, let it go, process those emotions. It's always important to first acknowledge the negative impact that it is having on your life. Process it, think of all the who's, where, what, how, why of the guilt, and then try and get over it. It's a process, and you really need to work on yourself. You really need to seek resources out there. But yeah, that is what I would recommend in those many ones.
Okay, Dorcas, in just 2 minutes, explain, isn't all guilt imagined? Because the thing happened. Whatever happened. So now this guilt is coming from imagination. So can we say all guilt is imagined?
No, not all guilt is imagined. Is made up. I think a better word would be made up or unwarranted, right? What they mean in that definition of an unimagined situation is where you are blaming yourself for something that isn't your fault, right? For example, the sibling that passes away, maybe they committed suicide. By the way, disclaimer for all those who might be sensitive about such matters. So maybe your sibling committed suicide and you are feeling guilty about it. They committed suicide because of their own mental health issues and probably their environmental factors. Maybe they've been perpetually unemployed, they've been a burden on their family, and they just feel like this life is not worth living. Or maybe they were jilted by their long-term lover, or their wife betrayed them and cheated on them with their best friend, so they go and off themselves. Then you, as a sibling, start feeling guilty about it. You didn't cause that unwanted outcome, but you are blaming yourself nonetheless. That is imagined. That is imagined. But the one who feels guilty after hitting somebody on the road, that is not imagined, that's real. So you must draw those distinctions, Morioke.
Okay, thanks. Devin, go.
Wow. Yes, I actually wanted to almost go exactly where Dorcas went. Guilt. Is it something that is internal? Does it come from us, or it is from somebody else pointing a finger that you have done such and such a thing? Then we feel guilty, or is it something that we we notice in ourselves, and then I realize, oh wow, this and that. So I think that is probably something that has to be delinked, the internal and the external. And what do we call the internal one, where we realize that we've done something wrong? Is that also guilt, or is it another? Yeah, Kizungu, English, yeah? Muriuki, you needed to delink that one for us. Thank you.
So I think
Because
they've
the one that is external, you can chambua, you can look at it under a microscope and say, nah, I'm not responsible for this, I'm not guilty for this, I'm not guilty. And you might even be able to work it around yourself and say, no, that is not my fault, that was not my fault, and that you are just laying it on me, and I can probably try to deny them. But the internal one, that might be a little bit harder to deny or to dismiss.
Okay, based on what you're saying, I think it depends on the situation. You have to give us specific situations so we can compare. Yeah. So, okay, before Dexter and Cookie speak, Dexter and Doc has mentioned forgiveness. You're saying that forgiving yourself. So, Dexter and Cookie, as you speak, just mention what you hear when you hear the word forgiveness. Thanks. Go, Cookie.
Good evening. I'm sorry I joined a bit late when the meeting had progressed, but I just wanted to answer Ndeva, the last person who was contributing. There's a difference between guilt that you said is external and shame. So what you are referring to is shame. Shame is what you are feeling inside. That's it for mine. Yes, I'm done.
Okay, let me go. I think I was next. I purposely wanted to speak to disagree with Dorcas. I think by trying to define guilt, we are overcomplicating a very simple issue, right? When you were speaking, Dorcas, you did you did say that there is actual and imagined guilt. But when you came to your definition, you mentioned real guilt, and you really put emphasis on the word real, which means you are introducing a third category of guilt, which is kind of losing me. I think it's all guilt. Just because you put imagined, real or actual, the words that you use, at the end of the day, I find it to be still guilt, right? And Ndeve, now, I am going to take a stand by saying guilt is it's a feeling. It's not, something that I can feel, I can touch. It's imagined. We create it. And by say, I choose what makes me feel guilty, right? Somebody like, I don't know, Ted Bundy, the nigger was proud of what he did, even though it's a murderous thing. If I did it, I would feel guilty, right? But he didn't. He was never guilty about it. He was so proud about it. And so it's created. Everybody gets to create their own guilt. And I feel it will be a very misleading conversation to try to, create categories of guilt. Even they've added two more categories. At this point, we're at five. It's all guilt. It doesn't matter where it comes from, whether someone is pointing fingers at me or I am creating it. It's all guilt. I decide what will make me feel guilty. I might feel guilty for, for not, let's say, for not sweeping my room, but I won't, and then not feel guilty about, you know, committing some atrocious things on some woman somewhere. It's you cannot try to define forms and what is this type of guilt. I mean, it needs to be handled as one thing: guilt. then now we can take the discussion back on the right path. Thank you.
I don't have much.
Okay, thanks, Dexter. Okay, cookies in 2 minutes. Just explain the difference between shame and guilt to you. Cookie, what's the difference between shame and guilt? Thanks.
Thank you for being kind and thank you for being good. You have a good evening. Uko na hiyo spirit ya kusalamia watu kila siku.
Oh, I think the volume is low.
Yes, sir.
Cookie,
Ni wewe uko
Cookie, explain the
loudspeaker.
difference between shame and guilt.
Sasa ndio nimekuweka. Hivyo ndio nimekuweka lakini nikatoa. Sikuwa nimeweka. Imagine I didn't. Because hata mimi even mimi nikikofollow tukaita kwa bola kwangu sitakusikia vizuri. I don't know. Most
There's somebody.
likely.
Cookie, are you there? Cookie, you're there? Okay, now, okay, guys, forgiveness, Dexter and Doctors mentioned forgiveness. So now, when you hear forgiveness, what do you hear? What's forgiveness to you guys? Anyone? What's forgiveness? Okay, Endeavor, go.
Thank you, Muriuki. When I hear forgiveness, I have got some problems with forgiveness because somebody goes and does something wrong, and then people forgive that person even before that person has had an opportunity to be remorseful, to say that they are sorry, to understand where they went wrong. So when I hear the word forgiveness, I have problems, I have misgivings, because I do want to understand where the process to arrive at forgiveness, where the process began and where the process has been. So for me, when I hear forgiveness, I want to hear that the guilty party has recognized what went wrong and how it went wrong, and has recognized their position or what they did to cause whatever harm was caused, and to understand the harm that was caused, and to understand that it was not necessary, it was not needful, and now they can go and apologize. They can now be said to apologize, to be sorry. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Ndebe. Dorcas.
What are we responding to? Can you repeat?
Forgiveness. Yeah, you mentioned forgiveness, about forgiving oneself. So I'm asking the word forgiveness, it means what to you? Because for me, I find it tricky. You can forgive yourself because you know how you feel. But how do you forgive somebody else and you don't know what they're thinking? You're not in their head. If you say I forgive somebody else, you don't know their feelings and what they're thinking. So how do you forgive somebody else? Thanks.
Okay. I kind of echo Ndeve's sentiments on my skepticism towards forgiveness, especially as prescribed by Christians. You know, Christians are very keen on that emotion. They keep bringing it up whenever something bad has happened. But I'm a bit wary of always embracing forgiveness. I'm not saying there isn't a place or space for it, but I think it can be misused and abused. But first of all, let me clarify what my understanding of forgiveness is. then I can discuss why I'm skeptical towards forgiveness, especially if it is done too quickly or too soon. Forgiveness in my book is not harboring resentment or ill feelings towards someone that has done something wrong to you. It is like canceling a debt, not seeking retribution for an injustice that has occurred. You just forgive. Yeah. So that's my understanding, and I think most people would agree that that's what it means to forgive somebody. Why am I skeptical of it, especially as used by Christians? There's a lady on YouTube. She's a philosopher called Maria Klinelova. She has a strong Eastern European accent. I don't know if she's from Russia or from Ukraine or from Poland, but one of those places, a very strong Eastern European accent. And she was talking about how if you forgive somebody who is not remorseful, who hasn't sought reconciliation from you, and who has not shown steps that they will not repeat the thing again, then what you are doing is you are exposing yourself to further abuse, trauma, injustice, etc., to further harmful acts. And you are also trying to resist the mental model in your head that is supposed to protect you from harm. That feeling resentment towards somebody helps you to kind of predict how somebody is going to behave in the future. If somebody, let's say, attacked you violently, that the feelings that you have, the mistrust you have towards them is accurate because empirically speaking, they have shown you that they warrant your mistrust. So when you forgive them, you are trying to short circuit that mental process and you're trying to convince your brain that this person merits trust when the empirical data shows otherwise. Their behavior, their real actions show otherwise. And that causes cognitive dissonance within you, and it can cause certain mental health issues. Apart from that, I also think that when you forgive too soon, especially when the person has not shown the remorse and they're not taking positive steps to change who they are, to make sure they don't repeat that negative act again, is that that person might be emboldened to do the thing again. It does not serve as a deterrent. Let me give you an example. I'm being so abstract. Let me give you an example. And in fact, I talked about this on my TikTok. There's a boy. Okay, now he's a man, I think. I think he's 19 years of age. He was accused he's from Murang'a County or Nyeri County, somewhere in central Kenya. The boy was accused by his grandma and his auntie of defiling his 7-year-old niece. And how they brought out the case was the key witnesses were the grandma and the auntie. The child themselves didn't speak. They didn't even give testimony during the actual trial. It was just the grandma and the child's mother, the 7-year-old's mother. Then later, the boy, I'm calling him a boy, is now a man. Anybody over 18 is a man. So the 19-year-old got an appeal case, and he challenged that previous verdict. Fortunately, the judge looked at the evidence and realized that this was a made-up story. Then even the grandma, who was one of the main character witnesses, reneged on her testimony, and she said that she made up that accusation. It was a false grape. You know, this word is supposed to be censored on YouTube. It was a false grape allegation, right, and child abuse allegation. So many people were very angry about those women. You are going to destroy this young man's life. He was supposed to do a life sentence, and yet he was 19 years. So basically, his entire life is destroyed. And he's been going on media platforms. He was on NTV. I actually watched that interview on NTV, and it really disturbed me. So, because they are Christians and they're so quick to forgive, they were asking him, have you forgiven? Are you going to forgive your grandma for doing this to you? Because he had a terrible experience in prison for 1 year before he had the appeal case and won it. He stayed in prison for a full year. So they kept asking him, the journalists and everybody, you are a good Christian man. Do you forgive your grandmother? And he says yes. So that grandmother, when she eventually called into the show, she was not remorseful. She did not seem like this is bothering her. It wasn't a lesson. Justice was not served. And besides the grandma herself, even other people will realize we can make false grape allegations and get away with it because the
Dorcas,
victim
1
will
minute.
forgive us.
1 minute.
Okay, I heard you. We can make false grape allegations because the victims will forgive us, since we're supposed to be good Christians who forgive all the time. So you set yourself up for perpetual abuse. That is why I'm skeptical. Thank you.
Dorcas, very quickly, so can I say it's impossible? It's impossible to forgive somebody else because you're not in their head, because you'll never be in their head. So it's impossible to forgive somebody else. Is that right?
No, it's not right. It's not.
Do you know what they are thinking? Do you know what's in their head? You don't know what's in their head?
They can communicate to you. Like I said, somebody can seek amends.
So if you say forgive,
they can change.
But
they can change their lives, and they can turn things around. So once they communicate that to you, they try and make amends, and they do all those steps. Then I think in that situation you can forgive them.
Yeah, but Doctor, my point is that you're not in their head. That's my point. You're not inside their heads to know exactly what
no
they're
one
thinking.
is in anybody's head. This is not unique to forgiveness. No one is in anybody's head. You just have to trust that they mean what they say, based on their actions as well. No one is in anybody's head.
Okay, fine, thanks. So for me, what I have here is forgiveness is a conscious, voluntary decision to release feelings of resentment, anger, or the desire to revenge. Yeah, so forgiveness is a conscious, voluntary decision to release feelings of resentment, anger, or desire to revenge towards someone who has harmed you, regardless of whether they deserve it or not. Yeah, so now let's go to anger. So when you guys hear anger, what do you hear? Thanks.
Okay, Morioki, let me just go. You closed out that forgiveness chapter without me speaking. You will allow
No,
me.
you can add. No, you can add, and then you can add on. It's okay. Add on something. Just add on. Okay. No problem.
I personally think forgiveness is a much harder philosophical discussion than you guys are taking, because when I am wronged, look, I am angry, I hate you, I don't want to see you, I want to see you fail. It evokes a number of feelings, right? To say forgiveness is one thing, that means that one thing can handle all the feelings that I felt when you hurt me, right? So I think it's a much deeper philosophical question. And I'm going to say this about forgiveness. For me, I think forgiveness is allowing someone not to face the consequences of hurting you. And that is that is the best definition of forgiveness. It is making you just, okay, Morioki, assuming God forbid, I know we are atheists, I shouldn't say that, but God forbid you slap me. I forgive you by ensuring I don't beat you to a bloody pulp. Okay? I forgive you by, just minding my thing and not having you face those consequences that you will get from. But I still hate you, right? I can forgive you and go on my life with hating you. Now, let's talk about anger because this is much, much easier. I will spend the whole night if I was to speak about forgiveness. I think anger, what is the best definition of anger? Well, I hadn't thought about that. I will put in my thoughts on anger after I think. But thank you. I wanted to put in that about forgiveness. It's you make, when you are hurt, you go through a lot of feelings, anger included, right? You feel betrayed. You will feel, So forgiveness is kind of talking about dealing with all these things, which is much, much, much more complex. It's not something we can dedicate 20 minutes to. This is like a whole year's philosophical debate. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dexter. Okay, guys, we're talking about anger, eh? Anger. Chilwell, go.
So I first wanted to comment on forgiveness. I think there's a Buddhist saying that says refusing to forgive is kind of like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die, in the sense that you're causing a lot of resentment for yourself. So I'm not saying you should let people like walk over you or that you should let someone continue to abuse you. But what I'm saying is sometimes we get wronged by people who we're never going to see again. So maybe you get robbed, or maybe you get abused, or maybe it's something in the past. Like maybe, let's say you are bullied in high school, or there was a teacher that you didn't like, or you got conned by someone. I think in Kenya and Nairobi, it's very common to get conned, right? So let's say you got conned by someone and they stole, like, 5,000 shillings from you, and then that was like 10 years ago, and now you're living in the present, and you're thinking to yourself, if only I hadn't been conned, I'd have had that 5,000 shillings with me, right? So that thief or that con man is living rent free in your mind, and he's completely forgotten about you. Him is on his merry way, him is smiling, him is doing his own thing. So really, you're the only one that's losing. So for me, I don't forgive other people for their sake. I forgive them for my sake, so that I'm not constantly resenting what happens. And I think the easiest way to forgive someone is if they've hurt you, or they've damaged you, or something bad has happened to you, just try and replace what you've lost. It isn't always possible, especially with emotional wounds, but sometimes with materialistic things, it's possible, right? So yeah, like let's say someone steals your phone, or steals your glasses or your earphones or whatever. Just try and buy a new one, and by the time you have a new one, you should focus on forgiving them, because you've gained back what you've already lost. So that would be my perspective. And a lot of philosophers hold this perspective because if you look at Plato, he believed that evil mainly comes from ignorance, in the sense that people who are evil, they simply don't know how to do better. And the Stoics also believed the same thing. They believed that we should pity those who wrong us rather than be angry at them or refuse to forgive them, because he says, had they known, or had they had the same virtues as us, the same upbringing as us, then they would definitely not act in the same way. And I feel like once someone has that perspective, right, once they have that perspective, they're able to be less angry at people, like less resentful, because I don't see how being resentful is beneficial. But I'm saying someone can still take steps to prevent things from happening in future. So for example, let's say you get bullied in high school, but then you learn martial arts, so now no one can bully you. So I don't think it should dwell in your mind that, oh yeah, that guy, I'm going to find him, I'm going to mess him up and stuff like that. It should be more of like, if anyone bullies me from now on, I'll deal with it. But what happened in the past was the past, and I won't let it affect me. I think that's the healthy perspective to have. So yeah.
Thanks, Chule. Now, Chule, like I was telling Dorcas, do you agree with me when I say it's impossible to forgive somebody else because you're not in their heads? What do you think? Because you never know what's in their mind. So it's impossible to forgive somebody else. Do you agree with me there?
No, because you see, my forgiveness is not dependent on their remorse. Like, I don't care if they feel sorry or not for what they did to me. Like, my forgiveness is based on me thinking that they didn't know better. The fact that they're not me, so they don't have my genes, they don't have my upbringing, they don't have my morals. So we shouldn't be surprised that they act differently from us. Yeah. That thug who robs from you, you never know what home he came from, or you never know if he has psychopathic genetics. So yeah, that's why I'm saying forgiveness for me is not dependent on the person being remorseful. And I think I can still be pragmatic in the sense that, as I said, you can still take precautions, pragmatic precautions, that prevent you from being taken advantage of in future while still forgiving the people that have wronged you.
So, Chilwe, so according to you, when you tell somebody that I forgive you, it's nothing to do with them. It's all about you. Are you saying that? Like, if you say I forgive you, it's about you, not them. Is that what you're saying? It's nothing to do with them. It's all about you.
Yeah, in the sense that it's not anything to do with their remorse or not. And sometimes I don't even necessarily have to tell them. I can just say to myself in my head, like, yeah, I've forgiven this person for how they treated me. And again, it's not 100% easy. Like, there's still certain, like, I have a few people in my life where I'm like, okay, this person, I've not really forgiven them fully, and there are occasions when I think about it, but more and more, the forgiveness is there. Like, let's say you used to think about someone like maybe every other day, like of what they did to you. Like every other day, you're like, I can't believe this person did this to me. I hate them so much. I hope they die. I'll get my revenge someday. Versus now, maybe you only think about them once a week or once a month, and you're like, yeah, what they did is terrible, but hey, man, I have to move on in life. And it's not easy, okay? No one said it's easy, but what I'm saying is sometimes letting go is easier than holding on.
Okay, thanks, Chilwe. So now we're discussing anger. Anger, what I have here, it's an intense emotional state of displeasure, annoyance, or hostility arising from threats or injustice or frustration. It can increase heart rate and blood pressure. So anger is an intense emotional state of displeasure, annoyance, or hostility arising from threats, injustice, or frustration. And it can increase heart rate and blood pressure. So now, when you hear anger, is there a good anger? Is there a bad anger? Or anger is just plain negative? Dorcas. Can you hear me, Dorcas? Am I audible?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, so anger. Yeah.
Microphone sometimes acts up. has a mind of its own. Anger. Oh, wait. What's the question? Are you okay?
Yeah, okay, now we've gone to anger now. We've talked forgiveness, now anger. Now, is there a good anger? Is there a bad anger? Or anger is just bad? It's just negative.
Okay. I'm trying to turn on my camera, but it is refusing. Anyway, okay. As long as you can hear my audio, I think we are good. Absolutely, there is good anger and bad anger. Yes, I'm back. There's good anger and bad anger. Okay. What's his name? Dexter was having issues with me classifying these emotions using very many words. You know, we are overcomplicating things according to him. So let me say, it's not good anger or bad anger per se, but anger can have positive or negative consequences. Anger can have negative consequences when we lash out at things or people. If you go around breaking stuff, I know there's this R&B song called "I'll Bust the Windows Out Your Car." This woman, she's called Melanie someone. I'm forgetting her second name, but she finds out that her man is cheating on her, so she goes and attacks. She gets a bat. I think it's what's that game they play in America where they hit baseball bat, right? So she gets a baseball bat and she goes and breaks the windows of his car in a bid to make him feel a fraction of what she felt when he betrayed her with another woman. Okay, so there are times when you act out against property, but the property might belong to the person who hurt you, or it might belong to somebody else. They might be an innocent party, but you're destroying their property. Or you could actually attack the person themselves, the person who did the wrong to you, or it could be a wrong, or they could just be a person who's on the way. You know, they just happen to be a casualty of your uncontrolled emotion. So that to me is a negative consequence of anger. Another negative consequence is the physical and mental health effects it has on your body. If you let anger fester for too long, it can cause anxiety, it can cause stress, it can cause sleeplessness, lack of appetite. You might not eat, you might not want to do much because you're just marinating over this issue over and over again. So there it can be detrimental to you, and there are many other physical outcomes of harboring anger, like high blood pressure and other conditions. Now, apart from that, or on the flip side, anger can have positive consequences. It can demonstrate to you what you cannot withstand, and it can cause you to create boundaries for yourself in a certain relationship. If you realize that this person makes you angry all the time, it is best to avoid them. It is best to set boundaries to avoid that situation if possible. Sometimes it's your boss and there's really nothing they can do. They come in the morning and they throw all these papers at you. They tell you you're doing nothing in this organization. You're just breathing the air of my air conditioner. You are a waste of space. Can you repeat that project? Oh, they make you so angry. But now what can you do? This is the only job you've had. This is the only job offer you got in 5 years. So where can you go anyway? So yeah, there is that dimension. It can help you set boundaries. Anger can also, I know I've spoken for long, so let me make this my last point. Anger can also motivate you to seek justice. A case in point is that example I gave of the young man, the 19-year-old, who was accused of molesting his 7-year-old niece. He could take up that cause. First, he could seek justice from the false accusers, and then he could take up that cause and speak up against such false allegations in general. And maybe his activism might make the criminal justice system improve, be more thorough without condemning young men like himself to a lifetime of imprisonment without good evidence for the same. So it can also be a force for good because it can motivate you to seek justice. Let me leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Dorcas. Debe.
Thanks,
Debe, you can
Muriuki.
go.
Yes, anger. Anger, when I'm going to take it from anger issues. Anger actually comes from some, for example, and this one is a very big one, helplessness. Helplessness, whether you are a man or a woman, but maybe helplessness might affect men even more because men really are bred not to feel helpless. And when that situation of helplessness or fear, it's something that actually you can't do anything about, I think it's going to bring anger, because this is a situation that you are supposed to deal with, but you actually cannot. Instead, you have this fear and you have got this helplessness, and therefore you become vulnerable, and that sadness just comes without. Maybe you can notice that you are getting into that and then be able to control it. Or maybe you might find yourself in an anger issue situation with a baseball bat, and either you are hitting somebody's car or unfortunately somebody's head, and you are bashing their noggin because you are very, very angry. So if we can recognize, but sometimes then maybe we recognize that a little too late when the part has connected with something, then we can connect how to control anger. But I think it is it's a situation that is difficult, but it is coming from something else. Thank you.
Debe, is there any good anger, according to you? Is there any such thing as a good anger?
It is very hard to say a good anger, because a good anger, it would have to be controlled. And that is not really anger. That one is calculation. Because let us say, for example, in many, many situations, you will find yourself sitting across a table with somebody that is very controlled, very calculating. And you are here, you are emotional, you are not really getting too far. That is why usually people lose their anger or their emotion against the police, because maybe police are a little bit detached. And then you bring your emotion, you bring your anger, well, you lose. Because the other person right there is looking at you and calculating you, and you're not looking at the cop or at the other end and calculating him. You could also calculate the cop if you are cool, if your anger is controlled. Therefore, I think the only good anger is calculation. You are going to calculate and see how you can manipulate that person. It's calculated. I don't even know whether that is the question. I don't know if that's the question, but you.
Yeah, no, I was looking for a positive anger. That's what I was looking for.
Then it is controlled.
Yeah.
It is controlled. And is it still
Controlled,
anger?
yeah.
Is it still anger?
Mm.
Anger is kind of, yeah, you just get out of it. You are lost, you lose your mind. You lose your control.
Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks. Abolelango.
Oh, am I not coming after Dexter?
You're quiet for a while. Belang, you are quiet for a while. So I want you to go fast, then Dexter. But whichever.
Okay.
You are quiet for a while, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for anger, I used to entertain anger a lot before, but I noticed that it was the time that I did not know how it builds up in me. But then I started to be aware of it and what happens in the body. So now I still get angry, but when I get angry, I know that, hey, I'm getting angry, and it doesn't take me by surprise any longer. And people would call it calculating, or what I heard Endeavor talking about it. It's not calculating. I'm still angry, but I don't add fuel to it, because naturally what happens, that feeling starts, you entertain it, then you do other things that makes you lose at the end because you did things that are irrational. But if you feel it coming and you can recognize it, then you are in control of it now. You can still be angry, but you can do rational things that you do, that you know that these are not going to land me in trouble or weaken my position. So yes, anger can be good, because without it, how are you going to know what you don't like? But anger, we should know it. It should be a friend of ours, let me say. When a friend comes, you must know that, there's that person who wants to take over. Let me stop that person, and let us do this cool-headed.
Okay, thanks, Bolalang. Dexter.
Okay, on matters anger, I really think I'm gonna just emphasize on what Bola Lang has said. I think that there's no such thing as good anger, bad anger. It's just how you choose to channel it, right? Like I can't get angry because this has happened, but what can I do after I get angry? And the varying degrees of what we can do is what creates a difference that you guys are trying to study and name good or bad anger. I, I usually consider these feelings, all of them. It's something you will feel at some point in your life. It's not something to avoid, to deal with. It's something to use. And I feel like that is very empowering. You know, if you feel angry, what are you going to use it for? Are you going to use it to fight this nigga? Or are you going to use it to do something else good, right? Some people got angry and they destroyed entire civilizations. Other people got angry and they went and did great things. It's I think it's a part of you. I think being angry is a part of you. The same way, like, you know, we love to you want to love, but you don't like to speak about hate. But if you can love, then you definitely can hate. And I feel like we tend to ignore that type of, you know, two-sidedness, and we created two words for the same feeling. You know, most people have heard who killed each other, loved each other at some point. Where did it turn to hate? I don't see the need for two words for that feeling. I think with anger, we have not yet created two words for it. It's a fuel for life. I think emotions are what fuel your life, and you gotta know how to harvest that fuel. Use that fuel. I can use a car to go from Nairobi to Mombasa. You can use a car to drive into a ditch and die. It just, and that is a conundrum I am unable to think of myself out of. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Dexter. Chilwell. Chilwell?
Yeah, like with anger, I think the only good anger is like when you're in school, either primary or high school, and someone disrespects you, so you need to stand up for yourself. I think in order to be assertive, some level of anger is required, because sometimes when you respond calmly and peacefully and meekly, no one takes you seriously. But I think outside of school, it's not really that useful, because you can go to jail for like assaulting someone or getting into a fight with someone, or someone ending up in the hospital. So, yeah, I think that's the only time I've seen anger being useful, like people who don't necessarily have short tempers, but like if someone starts a fight with them, they get angry enough to the point they're able to defend themselves. But other than that, I don't really see anger being that useful.
Okay, thanks, Chilwell. Now let's go to regrets. Regrets. Now, for me, what I have, regret is a feeling of sadness, disappointment, or remorse caused by past actions, omissions, or events beyond one's control. Yeah, so regret is a feeling of sadness, disappointment, or remorse caused by past actions, omissions, or events beyond one's control. It involves wishing a situation had been different, and it includes mourning or a loss. And so it involves a situation that you wish could have been different, and it comes with a mourning or loss. Yeah, so now, regrets is regret of anybody to you can't change it, but you regret. So can you say regret is something useless? Thanks. What do you think? Does regret have any value to humanity? Bolelang?
Hello.
Yeah, hurry up.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Because this is the tool that helps us to mend our ways and do things differently. But it needs balance. If we regret up to a state where people can see us losing energy or maybe looking sad, and then we have omitted the limit. Regretting is acknowledging that this thing is not good. I'm not going to do this. I should have not done it. And it doesn't have to stay with you forever. Once you fix the matter, you fix the matter. And there are a lot of other things that need your energies in the future.
Thanks, Bolelang. Debe, regrets, do they add value to humanity?
In Kiswahili, people say majuto ni mjukuu, that regrets are a grandchild. They don't come, well, you know, they don't come in the beginning. They are always, they always come later, like a grandchild. So it means that we recognize something that we could have done, but we did not do. That is a good thing, because we are It's now clear. Our sight is now 2020. We can see very, very clearly what we could have done. Maybe we can also see clearly what reparations, what steps we can take to try to amend the situation. It could be something that you'd have done well, yeah, it can be just be anything. It could be in your relationship with your family. It could be in your relationship at your job. It could, or your first career or whatever. You can see where I'm going, that it can actually just be in anything. And you can probably take some steps to change the situation. It is never too late. If you can see it, if you can have regrets, it means that you can see clear. You can see clearer, and it is you can take that step. I'm sure we have all been there. Thank you.
Thanks, Ndebe. Dorcas.
Before I speak, it was almost as if Bill was trying to say something. Maybe he's using a device which doesn't allow him to raise hands. Bill, were you saying something?
Hello. Yeah, okay, so
Yes.
I'm using my browser Quasimo and I can't find the thing to raise my hand. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I think he can go first. Yeah.
yeah, so I think regret is important because it's like creates a shield that prevents you from doing that thing again. Because if you don't regret doing anything in the past, then I feel like you're likely to do it to redo that thing. Yeah, I'm done.
And Bill, what if it happened a long time ago and it's still bothering you? How about that regret? It happened long ago and it still bothers your head. What do you do?
No, okay, I don't think that's the same thing. I don't think ruminating is the same thing as regretting. Like you can be regretting something, but don't keep on thinking about it. Like you have accepted Kombe did that thing wrong and regret doing it. Like you wish you had not done it, but accept Kombe have done it. But if you keep on thinking about it, then that is ruminating, which is a different thing. So I think the rumination is the problem. Like if you keep on going back to that situation and reliving that event and thinking of the alternative ways that you could have handled it, and I think that's the problematic part. But regretting on its own, I don't think is an issue. I'm done.
Okay, thanks, Bill. Dorcas.
Before I give my contribution on regret, I would like to take us back to the previous point, which was about anger. And I'm asking the members, how does one deal with anger management issues if you realize that you really are struggling with this emotion and it has caused you to do some really bad things? How can you remedy that situation? That's my question to you as the audience. Now, regret, incidentally, we had this theme in one of our outdoor hangouts. For those who are not aware, we meet monthly and alternate between indoor and outdoor hangouts. Last time we had an indoor hangout. Next time we're going to have an outdoor one where we go in nature. We eat, we talk, we walk, we relax and just build community. So we normally have a theme in those discussions. The previous theme was, what was it? It was habits that I overcame. That was the previous one. And the other one that we discussed when we were at Michuki Memorial Park was regrets. What are people's regrets? I remember telling guys that my biggest regret is not saving more. I wish I developed a saving culture early. I wish I didn't spend most of what I earned then, because I used to earn something significant compared to what I'm earning now, man. I've seen things in 2025. So I used to earn something significant. Then AI came and replaced us. It made that profession obsolete, and I could no longer make the money that I was making. So I had to reinvent myself and start from scratch. But I kept remembering the money I used to have and the big house that I was living in, a 2-bedroom. When I was no longer staying with my niece, we didn't have a house help anymore. It was not necessary to be in such a big, expensive house, but I continued to live there because I was afraid of change. So I regretted not saving enough, because it would have tided me over as I was transitioning, as I was dealing with this change, this external change in my profession. So the point I'm making there is regret was useful to me because it made me learn a lesson on finances. And I'm now wiser. If I get a future opportunity of making the same amount of money I used to make back then, I will make better choices. Another person during that hangout gave the example of their workplace. They said that they wish they didn't tolerate toxic work environments. A lot of people are talking about work. Yeah, because we all need to earn our bread. So the person was saying he stayed too long in a toxic workplace with toxic employees. There was just so much organizational politics. It's called corporate politics. And he had a terrible, terrible boss. Life was just a nightmare for him, and he withstood that for 5 years. He wishes he had left sooner. So regret for him is also a point of learning, because now he knows not to stay for too long in a toxic workplace. He has enough qualifications and skills to find work elsewhere. So he learns from it. So I think remorse can be positive. However, if overdone, like anything, when taken to extremes, it can become poisonous. You can develop anxiety, depression, and all those mental health issues that come with such negative emotions. So I think it is important to pick the lesson, but don't dwell in the past. You need to move on. Please remember my question, guys.
Thanks, Dorcas. Dorcas, for me, my answer is if you get angry, what works for me is just walk away. Because if you stay with that person, things go wrong. So walk away and don't start a fight. Don't get physical. Just because when a fight begins, it's a wrap. So for me, walk away. Just walk away. Okay. Then okay. Now, guys, jealousy. Now, is jealousy ever good? Because me, I've noticed when I'm jealous of somebody, that person has something that I want. So I've learned, if you're jealous of somebody, learn from them, because they have something that you don't have and you want it. So jealousy works when you learn from that person. So the question is jealousy ever good or it's bad? Thanks. Okay, and Debe, go. Debe.
Thank you, Muriuki. Dorcas has a question, and I don't remember the question.
It's anger. How do you deal with anger? Is that right, Dorcas? How do you deal with anger?
Yeah, if you have anger management issues, yeah.
Yeah,
How
that
do you
is.
Yeah. I said walk away. I said walk away. Just walk away. For me, it's just walk away.
Okay, so for me, anger management comes in remembering how how it feels after you have been angry, or after you let the anger get out of hand. That feeling for me is just is a killer. So that is how I manage, by remembering how it makes me feel. And also remembering sometimes you are dealing with somebody cool, calm and collected at the other side of the table. So how are you going to do that when you are angry? You can't. If you are angry and the other person is cool, calm and collected, forget it. You don't win it. It is not doable. The person is cool, calm and collected. You're the only one that is worked up. Jealousy. Jealousy, although maybe it is one of the 10 commandments, none of us follows that, because usually, even if we are not the kind of person that always sees the grass is greener on the other side, often we improve ourselves by emulating, by seeing what other people have or how other people are behaving, and you are saying, wow, that person is really, is always cool. I can be cool too. I can do this one too. I can improve myself too. I can do this too. So yes, I think we should keep our jealousy, but the good jealousy, not the bad one that makes us hate the other person because they have something that we want. But the good jealous that is saying that, well, if they can do it, maybe I can do it too. I always remember one of my regrets, looking back in my first career in water development. We used to, the trainees, after 3 years, you finish your training. Everybody used to get some money, some extra, some money, because the student, the allotment that you were given every month, they held back some of the money. And after 3 years, you were given a lump sum. And I remember, thanks to the people who are very enterprising, I remember some of my classmates. Kamau is actually a real person. Kamau, with his money, he put his money in Umoja. Umoja is housing. And other people like me, I put my house in Ukambani. I put our home, a house for my parents. And Kamau is probably today miles ahead because of that one step that he took a loan with his money and added into and bought a house in Umoja. And we are talking 1981. So just think about it. And to me, that one is a regret right there. It is not like I was not, maybe I heard later about Kamau. Maybe I probably heard it later from his girlfriend that they had this thing in Umoja or something like that. So, but I also knew a few other people who had, who had things going on. But I went with emotions that to support my family, not because they asked me, but because it was just something. I think I just thought that was the thing to do. There was not much thought put into it. And so we started the project, 3 of us, and I ended up with a baby. The baby was left in my hands. And you know how ladies we are, if a baby is left in your hands, what do? You do what women do when the baby is left in their hands. Yeah, so my 2 siblings left the baby in my hands, and it's a regret that I have, but probably it's not always a regret because they enjoyed it for almost 40 years before they died. So, well, regret, yes, but a lesson learned. Yeah, regret, but I learned my lesson very well. I could say no. After that, I could say no and not feel guilt. Yeah. So jealous is good. I should have emulated Kamau. I didn't. But from that time on, I started thinking about how my brothers and sisters from the mountain, how they do, how they enterprise. And yes, I think my lesson was learned. Thank you. Let's be a little jealous of each other. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ndebe. Bolelang.
Oh, for Dorcas, your question. With me, once I started recognizing anger when it comes, then I added a second step of not rushing things. When you feel it come, don't speak at that moment, because opening that mouth when it's still building up, you're going to shout, or you're going to be out of breath, and people are going to pick up your annoyance. But if you delay it, even 2 minutes or so, the heart rate goes down again, and the tension that is on the chest subsides, and then you start to behave differently from if you could have spoken immediately or acted immediately. So something like fetching a baseball bat, just going there, I'll change my mind, because already there I'm going, and I'm aware that, oh, going there, I'm going to hit someone down. That's not something good to do then. That gap helps a lot.
Bolelang, what about jealousy? Is there good jealousy, or it's just bad?
Jealousy makes you nasty, but I notice that people who are jealous, and most of the time it's people who don't ask questions and who don't ask with people to learn something from them. Once you've got that, you don't suffer a lot about jealousy, unless things that you will never get. If somebody has a very good wife that takes care of him, and you don't have anybody like that, your wife kicks you, and but you love her. Yeah, that one maybe can cause a bit of jealousy. Say, hey, if I had the wife like Peter, life would be good. But that type of jealousy should not even make you hate Peter, because he did not prevent something from happening to you. If you understand the situation that you had a wrong choice, Peter was likely to get a good choice. Yeah, if you see somebody doing well, and the economy is not doing well, and going and asking them, hey, what are you doing? If they don't tell you lies like, I pray, God is good, if they tell you exactly what they do, you will learn from that. So, yeah, jealousy can be managed. It's not something that should overcome our lives.
Thanks, Bolelang. Dorcas.
Thank you. Thank you all for that advice on anger, because I sometimes feel like I have those issues. I've never done anything extreme, but sometimes I really get bad outbursts, and I hate the feeling, that knot in the stomach, ah, the hostility, the annoyance. I just hate that feeling. And sometimes it's created by, I'll talk about anger, and sometimes it's created by online exchanges. Our very own group people can say something and I'm like, I can't believe this person thinks like this. Ah, it pisses me off to no end. And now, if that person was across from me, if I was seeing them face to face, I can imagine that it would be a real outburst. So it's something I'm struggling with as an orator and as somebody who intends on talking about atheism, controversial issues like atheism and feminism. Those are two causes that I support. These are controversial issues, they are polarizing issues, and they have very many enemies. There are so many people who hate with a vengeance. They hate atheists. And there are so many people who hate feminists. So it obviously, once I go for those discussions, those debates, it's obviously going to invoke feelings of anger in me, and I need to be able to control it. I need to be calm and get my point across. Otherwise, if you lose control, no matter how truthful your claims are, no matter how valid your argument is, nobody's going to hear it. They're just going to look at how unhinged you are. So this is something I'm working on, and hopefully I'll overcome it and represent atheists in a better light going forward. Now, on jealousy, let me just answer that question of whether there is good jealousy. This one is a tough one. But I personally wouldn't want to date, commit to, or marry somebody who never gets jealous of me. Because I personally get jealous of them. That's the reason why I told you guys I don't support poly relationships, whether they are polygamous, polyamorous, polygynous, whatever permutation it takes, as long as they are third parties, as long as you have multiple lovers, I have an issue with that. I cannot okay that. Ha! It would be a cold day in hell before Dorcas shares her man with some other woman or maybe even some other man. So I think in that context, in monogamous relationships, jealousy is expected within reason. If it is unfounded, if this person is really obsessive, they're making up situations, you stayed up late or you stayed too long in the salon and then they start making up stories, oh, were you going to see your lover? When they have no evidence, then that's too much. They've crossed the boundary when it comes to jealousy. But if they actually find evidence, they see you kissing another man or woman, depending on who you date, I think it's expected. I think it's healthy to be jealous. That's my view. Yeah, I feel that way and I expect my partner to feel that way. Otherwise, I would just translate it as indifference. Now, Mr. Moderator, I know our time is almost running out, but we started at 17 past. So we have like 15 more minutes. I hope we will discuss a little bit about colonialism and slavery, because this is an issue that has been put forward in discussions about Africa. Many Africans like to mention colonialism when they are explaining their current state of things. Why are we poor? Why are we underdeveloped, etc.? Many people cite colonialism, and even African Americans, they mention a lot of slavery. So I'm hoping we can throw in that last point before we call it a day. Thank you. Morioki, Mr. Moderator, are you there? Morioki, are you there? Okay. It looks like there's a problem on his end. maybe we can address that last bit that I had mentioned. How do we move on from colonialism and slavery? Should we even move on? Right? We can address that as the last point, even as we wait for our moderator to fix his device. Yes, are there any ideas on how to move on from colonialism or slavery, or whether we should at all? Is this something that should be at the top of our minds? Ah, good. I see Bolelang's hand is up. Yes, Bolelang, go ahead.
I don't think it's something that is going to happen in one go. It's something that affected us mentally as a group and as individuals. And yeah, we need to heal as Africans. It's terrible. Most of us lost confidence, the ability to believe that they can do things. You'd hear people saying, in that project, if whites are not involved, that money it's going to disappear. There are many things that people don't look at individuals, but they look at the color in order to have confidence in people. And yeah, that is going to take some time before it is fixed. So colonialism should go, its effects should go, but they will live at their own pace. There's nothing that we can do to short circuit that one. That's my opinion. Maybe there are experts who know about social engineering, who can do things to fast track us through this thinking that we are left with. And a lot of things, not just that, also we are sinners, we lack the glory of God. Look how much we pray. We pray because of this pain. And no. I'm fine, Douglas.
Okay, thank you, Bolelang. He believes that time is the only solution to moving on from colonialism. It isn't something that can happen at the click of a finger. Yes, let's hear from Deve.
Thanks, Dorcas. I will agree with Bolelang, and I'm going to quote Bob Marley in one of his songs that I like a lot. As we know, Bob Marley probably made these songs when he was high, and I always wonder maybe we should be a little high. I'm just joking, because he could see clearly that the emancipation that we need is the mental one. You can let all the iron fetters go, but somebody is left unemancipated in the mind. That one is the prison it's a prison that many people still have. When will the scales fall from our eyes? From our mind, so that we can be emancipated mentally. I don't know what it is going to take, but because it's a personal effort. It's just a personal thing, like recognizing and beginning to question the viability or the possibility that there's a God. These are very personal things. Can there be a mass movement to emancipate people? I don't know. I think it is much easier to do a physical emancipation than to do a mental emancipation. Because the other day I was watching, I think it was a program made in Ghana or something, And there was also a portion in South Africa. I think they were raiding shops that sell clarifying or whitening creams. Who can tell people that you are okay as you are Black? Nobody can tell you that when success or brains are associated with how white your skin is. So we assume that the brighter people are smarter and they are more beautiful. Wow. How is that? Where did we get that from? And that the blacker or the darker you are, the more unsmart you are, and the more unbeautiful you are. Where did we get that from? Because we are a continent of Black people. Where did we get that from? Is that part of the mental slavery, us enslaving ourselves more, or is it an emulation of our enslavers? Those are very personal. They are very, very personal decisions for one person decides that for my success, for me to success in my organization, or for me to be promoted, my skin has to reflect the stage that I am in my organization. My brains have to be reflected in the color of my skin. Holy moly. Yeah, mental slavery. Yeah, we are a ways. And actually, we seem to have taken a step back now. In my youth, some people did use Ambi. They used to be called Ambi and some other things. Some people used it, but it wasn't, I don't know whether the scale was the scale that it is. Now it is very sophisticated because the chemical industries have I think they have gone in with the biology, and they can be able to inject the medication, and they're able to, without teaching people that, okay, if you are in Africa and you have been clarified or you have been injected with this stuff, you have to stay indoors all the time because the sun does not like you not to have some melanin, not melamine, melanin for your protection. It's very complicated. I shouldn't go there today. Maybe there will be a day for this, but there's a mental enslavement. That is the problem. Thank you.
Wow. Powerful. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. I will give my piece when it's my turn to speak, but yeah, that is spot on, Deve. MJ, where the eagle has landed. Karibu, Mr. Chair. Morris Jeremy Washira.
Manini upside down. Hapa mtu hata hawezi tumia pseudo.
Your voice will give you away, even if you use a pseudo.
Too bad. So guys, I joined a bit late, so I don't know how Nini has been going, but there's something I wanted to say. The question is on Nini. Nimesikia hiyo comment ya Bolelang. The question is whether we have to live with this ama we have to let go. So I'm like, do we have an option? Because yes, this is a trauma on one generation, but are you going to say that this is going to be, you're going to bequeath this to your kids and then their kids going? So there has to be an end. There has to be an end. It's everybody, virtually everybody I can think of at some point in history has, how do we call it? Has suffered that kind of colonialism. The only reason why the African concept is more in even the slavery part. The reason why it's like that, it's because it's more recent. It's more recent. So it's in fresh memories of most people. It's also for the same reason that we know the suffering we know about Jews is the Holocaust. We think that's the worst thing that ever happened to Jews. People don't know that Jews were put in camps in Rome for about 400 years, in concentration camps for 4 centuries, just like slavery. So, to answer that question directly, yes, we have to look at a way to end this. Because if you look at which community has not suffered that? If you look at the white people, the Irish, the French, they have all suffered some form of slavery. It was not with us. The Arabs, they've been wars. Every society has a trauma. But there come a time you have to draw a line. You say, I'm not going to. My grandfather suffered this. I suffer this. Then I'm also going to bequeath them to the next generation. But then, how do you go about it? I think the best, most pragmatic way would be to address the remnants. Like, how do I put it? Like me, I don't remember, maybe Bolelang because South Africa got independence late. But for me, I don't remember Kenya under colonialism. So the question is, what is it that I'm seeing around in the society that is a remnant, that's a consequence of colonialism that is still affecting my life? And those are the things that you need to deal with, even in America, even in Kenya. And the biggest one of them that I've always said is money, economic inequality. And also this goes to now to the point that Dev was making. The reason why there's a mentality of white is good, white is best, is because in most societies, the white people, even in America, are the wealthiest. It is not the same case in Dubai, in Qatar. People in Qatar thinks, oh, Qatar is the role models. In a normal society, as you grow up, you tend to idealize people who you perceive to be successful. If you grow up in America, unless you are the exception as a black kid, the more CEOs the most successful CEO you see, the most successful media personality you see, imagine anything, are going to be white. And I remember there was a time we talked about this concept of role models, like, remember I'm talking about why there are more engineers who are men and high-paying job, and ladies tend to be more in lower-paying job like nursing and many. That's a different it, but that kind of role model. So if you address the economic inequality, that means if there's 50% people who are white in Kenya and 50% who are black, most likely there will be 50 or more or less the same CEOs who are white, 50 or more or less the same Nini who are white, who are black. So it won't be about the color. Now the people will be like, oh, I look at someone, he's like my dad, he has done it, he can make it. It's normally a very powerful subconscious part of a kid growing up, the role model part. So to address all these consequences of Nini, consequences of neocolonialism, you have to address the whatever consequence you're seeing here, and it's economic inequality. And finally, to Deve's point, is saying that at that time it was no more pronounced. People are not applying this Western bleaching and trying to look Western. I think the issue was much more to do with exposure. Because if you lived in your, not village per se, but in your local hood, and there were no soaps you are watching, you are not exposed to westernized quote unquote media. And I'm not demonizing Western media. I think they do a lot of meaning for us. But you are not exposed to these soaps or these movies or this media where the hero is always white. The kid is always white. Every character that wins is always white. And there's a word that they normally use, this unconscious programming that grows with you. And it comes out now. That's when you're seeing, because imagine our kid growing up from 2000, from 2000 something, They've been seeing TikTok, they've been seeing soaps, they've been seeing all these things. White winning, black, poverty, suffering, It just comes without going. It comes without going. So I think we have to address it, but we don't have to. Whatever we are trying to address here, look at the people they're raising white, look at CEOs. Those are the cosmetic effects of the colonialism. The real bad thing about colonialism is economic inequality. Even in Kenya today, most land is still owned by white. The best thing are still whitish. Address that thing, give equal opportunity to every person. It will just go, it will just disappear. It's not, you rarely see in America, and this is a normally, you rarely see in America an aspiring rap artist who is idealizing white. They all copy black cultures. They want to shag, they want to, because most rappers, successful rappers in America tend to be black. So that tells you it can be done, but you have to change you have to address the root cause, economic inequalities. And it's a big problem in America, it's a big problem in South Africa, it's a big problem in Africa, it's a big problem in Kenya. Once you address that, you've solved 90% of the problem. Whoever bleaches from there, hiyo ni kujitakia yake sasa. Yeah.
For the sake of Bolelang, who might not understand what he just said at the end, he said, whoever bleaches themselves, that is their own willingness. Hiyo ni kujitakia, that's what he meant. But yeah, those are very pertinent points you've shared, Maurice. Yani, you've been denying us this wisdom, not coming to Zoom meetings over here, and yet you have so much knowledge to share.
Muriuki was there.
Thank you,
Muriuki was
MJ.
Lucas, can you hear me?
Yes, Guy, what happened, Morioki?
My phone got messed up. I'm to the laptop now. My phone got messed up. I went to the laptop.
Oh.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah,
so
okay.
what you missed is
no, I could still hear. I could still hear. I could hear at least. The screen went. I could hear, but the screen went blank. It was a blank screen, but I could hear.
I see. Hey, these phones sometimes, I think they are just overloaded with too many apps.
I think so.
And too much.
So. It's full, yeah.
Data.
Yeah.
So then I can give my contribution on that one of colonialism, and then maybe you can ask people for their closing remarks. So we call it a day. At least we should not go past 10:30. Yeah, I would echo everybody's sentiments. I think colonialism has a real legacy on Kenya, on Africans, on other people around the world that got their independence in the past century. However, it needs not be a death sentence, because we have the example of Singapore, which our president likes to benchmark and mention all the time, that that's the vision. Kenya is heading to Singapore if we re-elect him in the second term. But we have parodied him about it. Some have said it's Singapore, after the floods that we had, and then Singapore because of all the rampant poverty. But we've had recently colonized people that have picked themselves by their bootstraps, and they've made themselves developed. One of the reasons is good governance. They've had visionary leaders who have created nation-centric policies, not policies to appease the colonial masters. And sometimes the colonial masters might not be the direct ones that colonized you. They might be the umbrella body. They create an international body like the IMF or the World Bank, and then they tell you, we are going to give you development aid, we are going to give you these loans. Then if you implement 1, 2, 3 policies in your country, including privatization, opening up your markets to foreign investors, and many other aspects of like the structural adjustment programs that happened in the 1980s, then we will give you. But what that ends up doing is it creates economic conditions that are favorable to the foreigners and not to ourselves as a country trying to develop. And then now when you compound that with the lack of accountability that comes with development aid, the corruption, which is definitely our fault, but it is compounded by that freely available money. We are now put into a debt trap, and there's just no way we can pull ourselves from the bootstraps. So I think we need visionary leaders who will change that narrative. Politically and economically, we need that. And then now, socially or individually, it is important to have a mindset change. I remember talking about this on my TikTok when I was commenting about the Russian man. For the sake of Bolelang and maybe any other non-Kenyan, there's a Russian man who went viral some weeks back.
Yes,
because
we heard
he
about him.
was. You heard about him. Okay. Yeah. So I was saying the reason why it was so easy for this Russian man to get laid by these women without any effort is partly because of the colonial mindset. The colonialists told us that everything that is white is right. You know, in the words of Maya Angelou, she said, all that is good and perfect and right with the world is white. That's what she had been taught growing up in the American South. So it's the same thing with what the colonialists told us. And everything black is bad. Our religion is bad. Our language is bad. Our appearance is bad. You know, our hair, the texture, everything is just terrible. And we should adopt their ways. So we need to challenge that mindset. We need to develop high self-esteem and self-acceptance as Black people, because we have a right to be here. We have a right to exist. So that's what I would say on moving on from colonialism and slavery. Mr. Moderator, you can close up.
Yeah, Doctors, as we close, I had one question. Are we to blame for slavery and colonization Africans? Because Africans sold Africans into slavery. Then Africa in Africa, the collaborators. So are we to blame for slavery and being colonized? Because Africans stand against Africans. As we close, thanks.
Where? Okay, you are finishing up with a fire question. No, not really. I think the tide was set against us. The reason why we were colonized was because they had superior weapons. They had they had administrative capabilities, and we were disunited. You know, we were just a bunch of tribes that didn't even know each other until colonialism came to be and amalgamated, well, that word, all these tribes together. So I wouldn't say to a large extent that we were to blame. To a tiny level, maybe those collaborators that participated in slave trade, the African collaborators, but to a large extent, we were conquered because they had superior technology than us. We couldn't fight them off. So the stronger side won. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, Rachel, a closing remark and answer the question, please.
Yes, thank you. I would like to say that we can't entirely blame. Oh, the Lord Jesus. We can't entirely blame Africans for slavery and colonization. Slavery, okay, not even too long ago, we could say even a century and moving back many centuries going backwards. Slavery was something that was going on in very many societies. In Africa, there was slavery. In Europe, there was slavery. In Asia, there was slavery. It was going on in so many places, and it was a norm. Like people would attack other communities, and you take slaves and you make them work for you and stuff like that. Colonization was something that was happening. Like hata ukiangalia, oh, sorry. When you look at maybe things like the Mongol Empire, things like those, there was some sort of colonization that was happening back then when they were conquering areas. It's just that when we talk about colonization of Africa, it was done at around a similar time and on a very large area because Africa was an entire continent. But colonization would happen back then. It's only that they could not expand in large territories because they were limited by things that they were using to move around with. They would use horses. You know, you can't really conquer an entire continent with horses, though some tried. So I believe it is just an era, a period of time where colonization and slavery was the norm. And then after the World War and human rights, what is it called? The UN and everything came around, then colonization and slavery started being looked at in a negative light. But before then, that was something that was a norm. You see? So that is my take about colonization. I don't think there is anyone to blame. I think it was just an error, according to me. It doesn't mean that it was not something that we should have done away with. It's just that it was an error, a period of time. My closing remarks about this whole session that we have had. I have enjoyed the session. I have had a lot of insights. I didn't contribute much because I think people raised their hands and everything they were saying was just something I wanted to say as well. I feel some of the things we can try and maybe change our perspectives or maybe look at things in a different angle, analyze how we manage our emotions and stuff like that. But okay, one particular point maybe I would point out to, I hope I'm not going too long. 1 minute. One particular point I'd like to maybe point out is concerning the forgiveness thing and anger and jealousy. I would say when we hold on to these sort of negative emotions, I feel like we tend to become the person that we resent. You see, so if you hold on to hatred or you feel like being vengeful towards this person has actually turned you to be like them, that you will feel you need to take vengeance on them. I feel like someone here said that they forgive for their own sake. I feel like that would be a good perspective to look at it, so that you don't turn and again become the person that you resented. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. That's very powerful. Okay, thanks. Debe.
Thanks, Muriuki. I will look back. I'll start with the slavery and look back at the enslavers. The enslavers knew a few things that we didn't know. They knew where they were coming from and they knew where they were. We didn't even know where they were coming from. or who they were, and a few other things. However, it was a trade, and our chiefs were part of they were part of the trade, because the way we looked at it, and we still look at it this way, that the guy that I fought last week and I defeated them, I can just go over, take their cows, their everything, and sell and sell the people to other, sell them, and they are gone. I don't even know where these strange people will take them, but hey, they don't have shares, so you sell them off, because they don't have shares. You sell them off. I'm using shares because Kenyans understand, if you don't have shares in your own country, you don't get anything. So that's why I'm using shares. And so I don't think that we can completely take ourselves out of the slave trade. That is number one. And that could be where we start with even claiming reparations and other things. We have to take some of the blame. Now, and then now let me come to colonialization. It's almost the same thing. The colonialists came from resource hunger. They were hungry. Sorry, I'm Mkamba, so anger and hunger can get a little mixed, but I mean the H1. They came from resource hunger. We had all these resources and we were not even aware the kind of resources that we had, but they knew what resources they didn't have. They didn't even have land. Like, Europe is so small. And here we are so few, we have all these resources, we are not even aware. So that is an advantage that they took. And let me put it this way, guys. If ever people or folks, whoever they are, came out of space, they wouldn't be coming because they like traveling. They would probably be looking for oxygen, and they come here and they find all this oxygen. They start converting and taking it away, and we are left without oxygen. I mean, it's an extreme. That way it puts it exactly how I want. They wouldn't be coming, anybody coming from out there. They are coming, they are more sophisticated. They are looking for resources, and we have the resource. We probably have the resources that they were looking for. They are looking for. It was the same thing with colonialism. And unless and until we understand how it happened, the resources they were after, we are still in the same situation now. We don't guard our resources. We still don't guard our resources. When in a boardroom, you hear some very strange contracts that were signed. How were these contracts signed? Who signed this contract for 100 years? A resource is gone for 100 years. And what do you get? You look at the contract, you did not get much. How did somebody sign that contract? So I am saying that we're still, or rather we seem to be still in the same situation, not understanding the person that has got hunger of resources and not understanding the value of the resources that we have. And we need those resources too. How do we not know that we also need them? Anyway, yeah, thank you. It was a very great discussion, this one today. Thank you, Muriuki, for your for the ideas and for the questions. And yeah, I learned a lot. And anger management is always an extra in anybody's life, so that we don't get a baseball bat. Thanks.
Thanks, Devin. Devin, in just 2 minutes, there are African Americans who say they hate Africans because we sold them. What would you say to them? They say they hate Africans because it's us who sold them to the slave master. What would you say to them?
Oh, is even the islanders, even the islanders, the Caribbean islanders. Oh boy, yeah, I forgot. Actually, I did want to mention the one that the people blame us. There are a lot of islanders, the Caribbeans and African Americans, that have got they have hatred of Africans because of the chiefs that sold them off. But I think the position of the chiefs is being amplified by the enslavers, the people that traveled and came. They are amplifying it to take less blame. So yeah, so even the people who blame us, and I've got a lot of people from the island. I've got an islander here, but he does not blame. He's very much involved in things in Kenya. He does not blame. He takes a different perspective altogether of the position of the Africans. Now, however, I'm sorry to say this for the politicians who like Dibaba. Sorry. He thinks that Papa was a crook. So we don't completely get off scot-free. There are places that we that we are wrong, and we need to face them. We need to face the situations where we made mistakes ourselves. Thank you.
Thanks, Debbie. Maurice. Maurice, closing remarks. And do Africans blame? Are we to blame for slavery and colonization also? Are we to blame partly?
This one, when you say we, it's a very pertinent question right now. You remember the UN vote that everybody is discussing, where 3 countries, US, Argentina, and Israel, refused to support the African enslavement as the biggest crime against humanity. So when you say we Africans, there's an issue of reparations. The reason why those 3 countries, by the way, they voted against it for their own interest. Britain abstained because the Church of England has already admitted, and you know, Church of England is the SAS-K, the Anglican Church. So there's no way the Church of England, which is the national church, is already admitted its role in slavery. The ships were used, and it was too obvious. And the Church of England gets seats has reserved seat in the House of the Lords, which is like the Senate. So there's no way the England, US. Okay, before we come to US, Argentina was the 3rd recipient of slaves from Africa. The number 1 was Brazil, number 2 was US, number 3 was Argentina. Argentina has pursued a policy of eliminating all the blacks. That's why they have almost none. And they were not doing it physically by like putting them in a corner, not giving Medicare, sending them back to Brazil and all those kind of things. So they voted, they don't want that story to come up. That's why they voted no. US is faced with a constitution. There are people, the big debate now is about reparations. They call reparations, yeah. Giving the reward of people for effects of slavery. So they have Israel want Holocaust to be the main thing. They don't want this thing to be overshadowed, because remember, Israel still gets reparation even today. As this financial year, Germany government allocated over 1 billion for Holocaust reparation for the victim of Holocaust. So they don't want that to be taken away. They want to be the main focus of the Nini. So the reason I'm saying this is because once you say we, should we Nini as Nini, the issue of reparations comes in. And what is going to happen is, you say we Africans who sent slaves who are brokers, technically, to our fellows, we're not to blame, because it's those generations that, that did it. We didn't do it. And it's the same argument they're going to use. They're going to say, no, 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 no. But me, I didn't own a slave. I didn't enslave anybody. Why would I be forced to pay? So when you just put the question like, yeah, should they be blamed? Yeah, I think those who did slavery should be blamed. I also think whether irrespective of their race, my only argument for reparation would be there are people who benefited from quote unquote a crime. And there are people who suffers as a consequences of their benefit. We are not saying either of them is guilty. We're just saying we have to have a way of correcting this crime. So I think anybody who participated in slavery, whether they were black or white, whether they were middlemen. I remember the reason why white men there's something Nani said. The reason why white men couldn't go to get the slaves themselves inside is because, number one, people normally think Africa was a vacuum. It was not a vacuum. There were a lot of tribes, kings, and emperors. So there was a lot of resistance in terms of military. Like it was, remember, it was a mediocre, it was a spear and a nini. And number two, it was because of malaria. Quinine was discovered around 18 something. So the whole of 17, when the white men tried to walk in kidogo, move into the tropics kidogo, malaria would just bring them down. So it was much safer and much easier for them to rely on these brokers. And in fact, they would come and empower these people now with the trade. That's why the trade along East Africa thrived, because of the slavery trade with the Arabs, and also on the West Africa. That was the whole pain. So anybody who participated in slavery, whether they were black or white, they are to blame. But they are to blame. But that does not negate the case for reparation. That's my point. Finally, resentment. There's something Rachel said about holding a grudge, and I agree with that. It's normally sound like cliche. Every time you say, "Oh, forgive," it will set you free. It's one of the cliche statements that actually is true for me. Like the moment someone does something and then you're holding on to it, they reduce it to, like if I'm doing what, like how do I put it? If I want you to be miserable, but then I'm doing it, and then you actually end up being miserable, then I win. That's how narcissists win, because they put you in a situation where you are suffering. They want you to suffer, and you actually end up showing, oh, I'm actually suffering. You think now they are going to resent it. They're actually winning. The cure for that is to be indifferent to their suffering, to show them they don't have control of their life and such. So yeah, forgiveness is one powerful thing. It's unfortunately I sound religious, but forgiveness is a powerful tool for letting go. It is for your own self, especially when you don't have a recourse. I'm not saying you should always forgive. If someone does something to you and you can take him to court, do it. But sometimes there are things like historical, like colonialism. What are you going to do about it? Other than fight for equality and any, but mentally and spiritually and whatever, in terms of emotions, let go. And finally, there's something David has said, and it's very profound. The way the neocolonialism is still manifesting today. And I thought about this thing: how do we let an individual, like today in Kenya, how do we let an individual commit a whole generation? So like, look at this project that they're saying, oh, they're doing PPP and whatever. An individual, or let's say a group of people, are committing money for the next 30 years, 40 years. So kids who are not even born, who will not even have idea what is going, they have already been committed. I think we should have some regulation on this. And there was someone say, oh, there should be a law that you cannot commit government more than your term. I think that would be too short. But there should be a law. You cannot go beyond 20 years, because that is crazy. And that is what neo-colonialists use. That's why you're finding people in Kenya, the people who still owned land during independence, they got leases for 99 years. So whatever Jomo did and whatever they did, they died. But now me and the son of Dalamea have to live with this inequality, where the son of Dalamea owned thousands of hectares and I happen to be a squatter. And this is what I'm talking about. It should be something we should correct. And that's how neocolonialism now manifests. Because that guy owned all the land. When you own the land, you know the factors of production. It's going to be the biggest factory owner, is going to be whatever. And I'm going to envy him. And you won't blame me when I want to bleach and look like him, because I grew up knowing he's the most successful person in the neighborhood. So yeah, I think we should have a limit on how much we commit, a generation. It's just crazy that someone can just wake up and say, for the next 40 years, these people will be paying for this road or for that. It's just something I thought. But thank you. Sorry I joined late as an African man. I kept time, but from a real perspective, I didn't. But yeah, it was really nice. Nice to see you, Bolelang. You're still around.
Maurice, please, Maurice, Maurice, a minute. When you say I forgive you, what do you mean by that? When you say I forgive you, for you it means what?
Forgive means you emotionally let go.
No, so it's for you, not just for you, eh? Not the person, just for you, not the person.
Yeah, like if you, like how do I put it? So if you do something wrong to me, yeah, if so there are two ways. They normally say, okay, the Christian way they say forgive and forget. It's impossible to forget, but it's possible. The reason you are forgiving it, first of all, is because I've done something wrong to you. And in most of this time, this wrong thing is normally intentional. So when I was doing this wrong, I was hoping you'll feel this way or look this way or be miserable in the one way or the other. Please try not to make me win. That's the point. Try not to make me win. Number two, engage your rational perspective. So I normally think like if someone was to kill my relative, what am I going to do? Emotionally, I'm taking them out without a doubt. I don't care whether they are wherever, what I'll go to prison for life. But then I have to take a common sense back and be, hey, so maybe this guy is going to win. How about we take him to prison, he suffers, maybe he pays reparations and all this and this. So you have to apply common sense in a and this is normally tested in very emotional, intensive situations. That's my kind of forgiveness. Actually, normally, there's someone who might say, you're not forgiving them, you're forgiving yourself for being a victim. Then I'll deal with it. So don't forgive and forget. That's BS. Forgive and inflict the consequences where you can. But now in this case of slavery and colonialism, what are you going to do other than try and correct the system, which sometimes might be beyond most of us?
Thanks. Bulelang, closing remarks? Bulelang.
Oh, yes, I appreciated the session today. Emotions are a topic that most people try to avoid, but all of us are affected by them. And our behavior, our success, our failure, it's pivoting around how we express those body. It's something that we feel in the body and how we act on it, how we show that to the world that will determine how we are received or how we are not. So yes, I enjoyed the session on that side. The last part, I must say, it brought some emotions in me, unlike you up there who have not seen discrimination for a very long time. Here from us, it happened very recently. I'm in a generation that saw it, generation that was treated like dead and whatever. So yeah, the last part was not that easy. But as you say, things will change, and even the leaders that you are talking about, they've been affected. When people see money now, they just go to it without limits, and that is why we have such a lot of corruption. If we can deal with that, where people can be used to money, because people are not used to money, there's a lot of corruption. It needs a lot of time. It's not something that we can finish now. It's quite an emotional subject. The last one, where we blame ourselves as Blacks for slavery, we must be careful what is happening there. That issue was not there before, but somebody saw that the diaspora and Africa, they're trying to work together well. And that's when somebody throws that issue into the works. And I can see that it is creating some tension. It's not a mistake. There's somebody who has fed that information, and it's intentional. We must be able to deal with it. Those people who were bringing slaves, they were paid. They were employees of somebody. It was an organization that was run by somebody. It's like blaming the girls that are working as prostitutes when there's a pimp that is getting them into that industry. In order for that industry to die, if you want to close it, the supply is the one that the demand side is the one that is creating the whole energy. Yeah.
Okay, thanks,
I
Brother.
think-
Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
I say
You're done, eh?
Yep.
Okay. So, Dorcas, you can complete close as Slim and El Maestro speaks if they want to. Slim and El Maestro can speak as you close, Dorcas. Thanks.
Kindly, Morioki, I'm sorry, we're out of time. Please, let's be conscious as moderators to not drag out the meeting because some people delayed. If somebody has come in late, it's not a must for them to speak. They should have respected the allocated time so that we don't make these meetings too long. If they're too long, people don't watch them. It reduces the watch time. And we are considering a larger audience. So I'm sorry, maybe they can type on the chat if they have something to say. But we need to close up. Thank you very much for all the participants. I would especially like to thank Ndeve, who had a lot of contributions and many profound insights on this topic. Thank you, Bolelang, as well, for taking time to join us this evening. Most times we see you when you're moderating. So today you are a participant and an active one. We are glad you came. There was also Dexter Morgan. I don't know, he's rebranded. He's always rebranding. He was previously called Aminia Pussy. I hear that's a rapper. Then he became Donald. I thought Donald is his real name. Then today he's Dexter Morgan. You'll tell us, Dexter, when you rewatch this, what your real name is. Who are you, man? But I loved your candidness and the fact that you're not afraid to disagree with people. So thank you so much, Donald. Me, I know you as Donald. We miss you. Please keep coming for the Zoom meetings. There was Chillwave at some point who had some very important philosophical insights. I think we had a little bit from Cookie and a little bit from Bill, even though maybe they were prevented by their devices from speaking up more. And then, of course, we had the last minute contributors like MJ and Rachel. Thank you so much for your discussions. As my last statement, I think this discussion is very useful because a number of us are struggling with these things. I have personally told you I'm dealing with anger management issues. I sometimes feel overwhelmed by it, especially in debates or arguments with people. It just rubs me the wrong way and spoils my entire day. So I need to learn how to deal with it. I will definitely be getting back to this Zoom recording to use it. On the aspect of forgiveness, this is what I have to add on top of what you guys said. I think we need to acknowledge the other side of forgiveness and realize that among many Christians, it is used as an excuse to withhold accountability. we get many abusers who continue living their life normally and perpetuating their abuse because of that aspect of forgiveness. That it's so easy for Christians to forgive without really seeking redress of the issues. So I think we need to consider that dimension, and we also need to consider the fact that anger can sometimes fuel social justice or social activism. If somebody who was abused by a priest, a pedophile priest, just forgives them and moves on, then maybe there won't be a movement that holds them to account, because there's actually an association of former abused Catholic boys worldwide, and they're seeking redress, and here they've gotten a lot of compensation from the Catholic Church. So if they were just quick to forgive, then they wouldn't have gotten justice. So we need to consider that other aspect as well. And we also need to remember that when you forgive, it doesn't mean that you reconcile with the person. We've had toxic families, people who the families of fathers, mothers who were toxic, who are narcissistic, who are abusive towards their kids, and their kids go no contact with them. Yes, you can forgive them, but it doesn't mean you have to have a relationship with them, because they are the same person. If they've not made steps to change their behavior, they're going to just continue with that cycle of abuse. So it is protective in that respect. Those are my views. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night. Yes, I've been told to wind up after telling people to wind up. Okay. Good night. Take care. See you next time, guys. Bye.
Good night. Good morning.